Bases dropped in the morning show here on SDH. Sorry about 906. I was trying to find a sweatshirt that I didn't think would get me into like trademark jail when I was trying to figure out what to wear this morning. That and trying to get the Mountain Dew ready and everything else. But no, biggest thing was just trying to make sure that I could wear something that wouldn't get us in trouble with like trademark police or something like that. Because, traditionally what I like to do is I'll wear something that's very old and soccery and retro and that kind of a thing. But this morning, because it's getting to that point where it's cold outside, yeah, I'm going to like sweatshirts, and I'm just kind of wondering whether or not if I wear something minor league baseball or if I do something old and retro, am I going to get in trouble with like the trademark cops or something? So this morning we went and keep your fingers crossed. We went with the old San Diego Clippers. So reminiscent of the Buffalo Braves when they moved to San Diego and picked up Bill Walton as a part of their shtick. So yes, Abby, absolutely. Frost warning tomorrow morning. Where are we? Well, I mean, we're in October, man. We're in October. Just maybe kind of slow things down a little bit. I mean, it doesn't have to be like so hot and then whiplashy cold and then whiplashy hot and then whiplashy cold and all that kind of stuff. Just, pacing people. Pacing Mother Nature. Please. Morning, David. So this morning, obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time on the USMNT. Thomas Tuchel is giving his introductory press conference as we speak. We'll get into that. And he's having to probably already fight the slings and arrows of not being British. Or not being British enough as the new manager of the Three Lions. I mean, because there are some media that are out there already that are like, well, but he's not, but he ain't, but if he's good enough and he's available and you want to put up with the individual in addition to the coach, slings and arrows internally, we can put up with all the ish. We want results. So Thomas Tuchel, probably between now and the end of World Cup 26. If you look at it, I think that he and Mauricio Pochettino are kind of on the same trajectory path. It's like Pochettino through 26 World Cup. Tuchel, even if he's like, yeah, I want to be here forever. Traditionally, Thomas Tuchel's job dissipation like 18 months to 2 years. And so he's holding his introductory press conference right now. We'll go over some of that and see what's going on. Obviously, since it's a Wednesday, Tyler's going to join us here in a little bit. We'll talk about USMNT. We'll talk about Thomas Tuchel. We'll talk about Atlanta United. We'll talk about Major League Soccer. It's Tyler's time here at the middle of the week to update us from the time that Maddie and I spent with him at the beginning of the week on MLS Monday on the night side at Scarves and Spikes, and find out, okay, what's going on in your mind and all that kind of stuff. And so whatever's on your mind this morning, Abby, yep, got to put together a new lounge chair swing, chilling on the patio. I think that's a bit of irony there as well. But that's the rundown this morning. We got the news of the AM as well to get through. And so it's going to be USMNT, ratings, the match from last night, thoughts from Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel now employed by the Brits, and once again the newspapers and everybody that wants to come out and say something, they're already saying something. So it was Abby Bart is coming on Friday because the real world has intervened, and so Bart is going to be batting leadoff on Friday to kind of let things calm down a little bit. And then we'll get his feedback on what happened last night at Stadio Akron. But since you have reminded us, here's the rundown for the rest of the week. It is Thursday's wide open. Nino and Nico on the Power Hour tomorrow from 10 to 11:05. Bart's going to join us batting leadoff on Friday's show. Hopefully, our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can jump on at 9:30, and then we can whip around patent pending trademark sooner, hopefully, rather than later, to discuss Decision Day in Major League Soccer involving Atlanta United, 98 gazillion other teams, just as many scenarios for folks to hop into the postseason. We're going to go over all of that in the final hour of Friday's show to get you ready. Eastern Conference games at 6:10, Western Conference games at 9:10 Eastern time on Saturday night. Set your devices appropriately. Make sure that you got everything recorded and that you're ready to rock and roll. So that's the rundown for the week. We are efforting guests and trying to catch up with folks in and around a couple of stories that we're chasing. And so new coach, excuse me, new coach at Chattanooga FC. The interim has been promoted to the full-time gig, so we're going to try and catch up with our friends at Chattanooga FC. Roy Lassiter, shocking bit of news yesterday was he and Carolina Core have parted ways in MLS Next Pro. So there's that came out yesterday with life and MLS Next Pro. Waits for no man. Neither does Jarrett Smith. Jarrett, what is on your mind this morning as we get ready for Tyler to hop on and we can both talk to Tyler in a couple of minutes?
Honestly, it's glad that the international window is over. This is one of those times of year where time is it 9:12?
9:12.
12 minutes is fine. I could give a shit about the international window this time
Atta
of year.
boy.
12 minutes is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't care. Because we're in the end of the season, and MLS, with their drunken ass setup, allows because the way they set it up, we have an international window right before decision day. there's a roller coaster at Busch Gardens in Tampa.
Yes,
I'm assuming it's still there after Tampa was basically wiped off.
Yes, I have
Tampa
heard.
Were wiped away.
I've heard nothing to the contrary, but yes.
Including the roof for the Tropicana Field, which, side note, is going to be very interesting. I think it's Jim Bowden was saying, like, there's 9 figures worth of damage, and they might not be able to play in it to start 2025 right
now. From what I understand, they're not going to be able to start play in 2025.
Yeah, they might have. I don't know if they go down to Dunedin, which is Dunedin's where Tampa was hosting, or Toronto was hosting, excuse me, during COVID.
Right.
I don't know if they go to Dunedin or if you really want to get weird, send them to Montreal for a bit.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what they'll do. However, I digress. But I don't care about the international window right now. I'm excited about finishing off this season. But anyway, there's a roller coaster in Tampa, at Busch Gardens, that when it takes you to the top and it starts to drop you over, it gets you right over the edge, and then it locks up and freezes for a minute. You hang there, and then you drop.
Yeah,
I love it personally. It makes me happy, but I also like brushing up against the cold hand of death occasionally when I'm on a thrill ride.
Yeah, not a fan.
But that's what this schedule feels like. It's, Oakland is open. They might burn down everything in multiple cities if you made Tampa play in the Coliseum.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
But that's what this feels like. It's like I feel like we got to the edge. Decision day's here, and MLS, because the way the schedule drops, they just kind of hung us over the edge for a week and a half, while everybody lost the shit over 2 friendlies.
Yeah.
One of which last night was a bunch of dudes who are like rotation or fringe players who I told you yesterday, show me something. I don't really care who's here and who's not. You got guys going back to their clubs for Champions League? Fine. The ones who are here, show me why you should be more part of this conversation. Aside from one guy trying to fight Mexico, not the country. Zendejas was trying to fight the entire country. Hey. Aside from that, it didn't really show me much. But that's all in the past now because we have decision day coming up, and we're finally here. And I'm very annoyed that I had to wait this long for it. Thanks again, MLS.
Hi, Tyler.
Howdy.
Oh, so that's where Jared is this morning. Jared earned us the explicit rating within the first 5 minutes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that that's ever a shock. But Jared's into thrill rides and the leveling of the patience It's just like, okay, it's like you're getting ready for the ride to start, and all of a sudden, screech. And you're wait a second, emergency handbrake here. It doesn't seem to be functioning, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, oh, it works, whoomp, and then everything just kind of goes over the edge. It's where we are.
To be fair, Jared, I am a fellow seeker of that thrill. I enjoy it as well. I don't necessarily like to apply it to all parts of my life, but
no, it's the thing is also like I would like to try skydiving, but I'm also too big for skydiving. Like I weigh too much.
No, somebody ain't built the better mousetrap to have you a part of skydiving, Jared. You have to look at it that way.
I would like to try it, but yeah, as I did the one, John, when's the last time you went to Six Flags?
Oh, Jesus, Lord, Mary Christ. The days of black and white television, I think.
So they have they have a thing at Six Flags, John, called the Daredevil Drop.
Okay.
That I did one time. It's next to the Ninja, which they painted and renamed, but it's still the Ninja is still basically an amateur chiropractor in a back alley.
A concussion machine.
Oh my God, yeah, riding the Ninja is like going through an NFL career and speed running your NFL career. But the Daredevil Drop, John, is they put you in a harness and they lift you high in the air and hand you a ripcord. You pull the cord and then you just swing back and forth from on high.
Yeah, that's a hard pass, Adina, on me.
So here's a fun fact about that. That harness is a one size fits all. You're not going to fall out of it, but as someone who did this, when you pull that ripcord, you actually slide forward about 2 inches in the harness on the way down. That 2 inches does, in fact, feel like you are falling out of the harness.
You know, I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day. I actually think it was my boys, because we were talking about, theme park rides and everything. And I was like, there's this one, and I'll always remember it. I never went on it, but I remember seeing it when I was sitting in the Ninja and just watching these poor people just commit to zero gravity for about a half a second and then just float. And they're held by one string and like a tarp. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then here you are talking about it.
Yes, it was fun. I'm not going to pay the money to do it again. I just did it once to try it because I was thrill seeking. Here's the thing about those. Yes, you're held by a cord, physics, and the hope that somebody's math was correct.
And OSHA. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
I don't know if OSHA's involved.
OSHA's not involved at all. The best case scenario is you get like a low gravity terminal velocity thrill ride back and forth, and then you're done. The worst case / okay case scenario is it goes wrong, in which case it's not going to be a problem for you for more than a few seconds.
No, and not in a good way problem. A problem with which you are stuck, sir. Been a fairly busy morning across the board, but Tyler, let me start with Major League Soccer and you. First off, thanks for letting me and Maddie crash.
Anytime.
Hang out with you and the Huntee, not the Hunter, but the Huntee, otherwise known as Sydney Hunt with an E at the end. And we kind of got to talk about the greatest hits when it comes to getting ready for Decision Day and the thrill ride that is Decision Day that Jared is trying to convince us of, that it is like the Screaming Eagle or the Scream Machine with a broken brake or something like that. After our tag team championship that ended in a time limit draw, as it always does.
Always.
And so you end up with what happened there. When you look at the big storylines, obviously Atlanta United, primary storyline for us here in the Southeast, but other storylines for you as you're looking at Decision Day in Major League Soccer. What else are you going to sit there while you're in Orlando watching a match in front of you at Inter & Co? So Scarves in Spikes, Inter at Inter & Co. All of these conjunctions hanging out in one place on a Saturday night. What other storylines are you going to be trying to stare at as we look at things here on Decision Day?
I mean, just from a pure chaos standpoint, and this will be after, but I'm just intrigued by the whole Galaxy LAFC kind of fight. And then just the fact that decision day for the Western Conference could be just good entertainment for us Eastern Conference people while we're trying to either A, celebrate, or B, recover from scoreboard watching in our own conference. But like I said the other day, the Galaxy to me are just this kind of fun team to watch, especially when Atlanta doesn't have to play them often. And what they've done in a year to kind of turn things around is kind of an inspiration and a little bit of a hope and maybe a little bit of a silver lining to an otherwise pretty tough year for Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, you do the right things in the off season and you're looking okay. You can turn things around quickly. But, you know, I think they deserve to win the West. And I would like to see that happen on decision day.
Jarrett, what about the West for you and Team Chaos? Since you're looking up at everybody else and from your San Jose Earthquakes position of FJF and looking at everybody else coming forward, what else are you looking at in the Western Conference?
Oh man, well, no, like I think Tower nailed it. Like the LAFC LA Galaxy thing is going to be interesting, just because one of them is going to be really pissed off at the end of Saturday.
Woo.
And here's the thing: the West is weird. Like, there's a bunch of teams in the West that I don't know necessarily. That you kind of fall into this category for me of, I don't think you're the best team in the West. I really don't want to play you in a one-off kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle and RSL, frankly, Houston and Colorado as well come to mind. I'm not as bold on Minnesota, Vancouver, or Portland, although Portland can be a little weird.
Yes.
But those 3 through 5, Seattle, RSL, Houston, and 6, Colorado, I don't think the 4 of them are the best teams by any stretch, but they're very unpleasant to play. And they're all capable of doing some real dark magic when they need to. They can absolutely be a pain in the ass to deal with in one-off situations. Those best of 3 series might result in a lot of blood. And I part of me wants to think Galaxy and LAFC is just going to be the Western Conference final, and MLS will be thrilled because they'll get Trafico to decide who goes to MLS Cup.
Uh-huh.
But man, I'm not convinced that both of them get out of the West in one piece, because there are some absolute pain in the ass teams they're gonna have to go through to do it. And can you, with a straight face and with a clean mind and conscience, tell me that RSL, like Diego Luna, is not going to pop off on a 70-minute blackout experience, or that Colorado isn't just going to go like full Chris Armas 2024 super weapon on you in one game? I can't bring myself to say that it's LA versus LA in the Western Conference Final, because there's just too many traps on the ground.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of ish there in the turf that can cause folks to trip over themselves. It looks like Audi Field. At first glance, it looks like the turf at Audi Field. And then you're going, God, that looks like crap. And then all of a sudden it just comes up and bites you, and people are falling down all over the place. And you end up with someone that you least expected being the survivor of the whole thing. So I could completely and totally see chaos
flames coming up around them. Like
absolutely. Yes. And since if we're mentioning Six Flags, it ends up being one of those kind of rides. MLS, according to multiple folks, and depending on whether or not you have only 280 characters accessible to you, or you've decided to get verified in the 280 character world, and you write screeds. I'm reading a screed. MLS has achieved a notable milestone in its international standing, now ranked as the 9th best league in the world, according to Opta. Rank comes after consistent growth and improved performances in international competitions such as the Triple C and Leagues Cup, where MLS teams have faced and frequently excelled against top teams from Liga MX and beyond. I could put a pause and a bookmark in that, but I'm going to keep reading. Opta's global ranking system, which scores all professional clubs on a scale from 1 to 100, reveals the upward trend for MLS, placing it ahead of historically respected leagues like the Eredivisie, Liga MX, Argentine Primera, and the Turkish Super League. This recognition marks a significant improvement from earlier in the year when MLS was ranked at 13, showcasing the league's growth, quality, competitive edge on the world stage. So, Tyler, Opta now believes that Major League Soccer is now number 9 when it comes to everything in and around the planet. What say you, Tyler Pilgrim? MLS is number 9. We've made it into single digits.
Woo, in the top 10.
Top 10, brother.
I don't understand how a league can move that quickly from 13 to 9 in less than like a calendar year. I don't get like what has changed in that short amount of time that you could jump, 4 spots. But I'm sure a lot of it has to do with probably, Messi and his friends. I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it. But I mean, I think you take out Messi, take out the big time talent that Miami's brought in, and I would argue that for 2 or 3 years now, MLS has been pretty close to the majority of teams in leagues like the Eredivisie, the Super League, like, because historically you have 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that just typically compete for the top spots, and then the rest of the folks are down to earth fighting for what's left over. That's European and most of the world football. And MLS has gotten to that point. Like, MLS does need to be respected in that sense. Is it perfect? And is it going to be up there with the Premier League or whatever soon? Probably not until some things change with roster rules and everything else. But
cap space.
They're on their way. Yeah, the cap, whatever.
Cap.
But that's the thing. I mean, you from a pure entertainment standpoint, especially if you have no dog in the fight, MLS is an entertainment spectacle because you really never know who's going to win, and the playoff structure is just different. So if you're looking for something different while still having a league that brings in legitimately good talent, I mean, MLS is doing the job. It really is.
All right. So our friends at goal.com were the ones that if I can click around the hotel advertisement and actually get to the copy instead of the pop-up window. So Opta's league rankings have them number 9, and MLS is well above the English Championship. I would hope so. But below the top tiers of European soccer, its rating of 78.2 is well above Liga MX's 76.7. So you're a point and a half ahead of them. Mexican League is now 14th in the rankings. Goal.com headline: the bigger picture. I feel like Rome all of a sudden. Goal.com MLS or Joe Piscopo in the old day. The bigger picture. You have to sit up straighter, and you've got to from the diaphragm.
The rest of the story. You
yeah, Paul Harvey. Yes. Yeah. Well, hey, Paul's in the queue, so I could queue him at any time. I'll still 9th U.S. rating climbs to 81.5, places it ahead of the Eredivisie. League moved from 29th to 10th in last year's rankings, an upward trend that continued. Saudi Pro, regarded as many as being close. No. Okay, so, all right, so goal.com. I'm using my first time out. Saudi Pro League, regarded by many as being close to MLS in quality, has a rating of 73.6, making it the 33rd best league in the world. Who in the bright world said Saudi Pro was close to Major League Soccer? I believe it might have been CR39 who actually might have said that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of individual, highly paid, very short-term talent that's going to the Saudi Pro League. And so again, I don't know how they distribute their point system to come up with these numbers, but it seems like individual players are rated quite highly.
Yeah, and the ones that are quite highly thought of themselves are the ones that will sit there and look at it as well. So, all right. So, power rankings. Yeah. Football teams in the world. I don't care. I want the leagues. It's like, I just want the top 10 leagues in the world. That's all I want. It's just, okay. So, Premier League at 87.9. Serie A and the Bundesliga draw. They're tied at 86.2. So, we have a T2. Then at 4, it's a tie with La Liga and Liga at 85.1. That gets you to 7. Brazilian Serie A, Portuguese Primera, Belgian Jupiler League, and then U.S. Major League Soccer at 78.2, ahead of the Championship, Liga Professional Argentina, the LPF, the Danish Superligaen, the Eredivisie, Liga MX, Czech First League, Polish, German Super League, Serie B. Serie B is on page 1 of this, and then credits Swiss Super League as well. So I need to figure out, okay, so we're trying to figure out their ranking system is what we're trying to figure out, right? And how the Opta Power Rankings can provide the answers. Okay, good for Opta. Explain it to me. It's like, here, click on this and this and this and this. No, just
I don't agree with the La Liga and Ligue 1. That was one of the ties, right?
Yeah.
Like the Bundesliga and Serie A, I could see that argument. I really could. I don't agree with La Liga and Ligue 1. I really don't. I think La Liga needs to be a little higher. And that's not a knock because actually I feel like La Liga has dropped a little bit over the past few years. But I just don't see those two being tied. I don't think that's fair.
Okay, so Opta Power Rankings explained. Okay, so here we go. People move. Okay, great, fine. A global team ranking system. That literally, I had to go to the analyst, and I've had to click through like 3 different things. Opta's Power Rankings is a global team ranking system that assigns an ability score, not ability to score, but ability score to nearly 13,500 domestic football teams on a scale between 0 and 100, where 0 is the worst ranked team in the world and 100 is the best. Power Rankings are updated and currently rank teams from 183 different countries, 413 unique domestic leagues, providing a truly global rating system in men's football. Congratulations. How do you rate them? Latest Power Rankings as of a year and a half ago had Bayern Munich as the best team in the world. Each team ranked relative to Bayern's ranking of 100. Manchester City, 1.5 behind, close behind them before the drop of other teams in the top 10. How can we? I don't care how we use them. I want to know your damn math. God bless America.
It's a proprietary formula. They're not.
How do we calculate Power Rankings? God, it's halfway down the page. Okay. A hierarchical ELO-based rating system, whatever ELO is. I mean, look, I saw them at State Farm Arena Saturday night. That's my ELO-based rating system.
I can explain ELO to a degree.
Thank you.
I don't like to because it's math, but basically it's like a chess rating system. Basically, like you're given points, and if you go and you win against a team that's way higher on the rating scale, then that's a bigger benefit for you to kind of jump spots.
Okay.
And if you lose to somebody way worse, then you're going to lose a lot more spots. Whereas if you were to play and win against somebody that's right above you, you may jump them, but it's not going to give you a ton of quote unquote points to then jump further up the standing. So it's all about the quality of who you're playing against. And if you win or lose, that's going to determine kind of how far up or down you move.
Okay, so skill score that has been adapted to many sports since its creation for chess player ratings, including the official FIFA World Rankings for both men and women. The ELO algorithm used here analyzes, spelled with an S, match results from over 2.5 million matches since 1990 to assign a rating to each team that's comparable across leagues, countries, and continents. The aim of the system is simple. Horse bleep. I'm sorry. ELO, literally, ELO rating system. The aim of the system is simple. No system involving math is ever simple. I'm calling horse-ish. After each game, rating points are exchanged between the teams depending on the result. What if there's like a handshake in the tunnel or something? Here's my ratings points. Here's my ratings points. Thank you. You go on your way. Whatever the home team gains in ELO, the away team will lose the exact same value of ELO or vice versa. If the home team gains 20 points in ELO, the away team loses 20 ELO points. God, I'm getting a headache. The difference in ratings between the two teams serves as a predictor for the outcome of a match. Each team's ELO rating will update on a game-by-game basis based on the likelihood of each team winning and the actual outcome of the match. In simple terms, once again, I call horse-ish, the following tends to happen. If the higher-rated team wins, fewer points will be exchanged. If the lower-rated team unexpectedly wins, more points will be exchanged. If the match ends in a draw, the lower-rated team will gain a few points. The greater the margin of victory, the greater the number of points exchanged is. Remember, whatever one team gains, the other team loses. Damn. God, that's a headache.
I like my explanation better.
Yeah, yours is like a lot shorter and doesn't have to do with as much math. Damn. Okay, so fine. You might be number 9 now, according to Opta. To David's point, all the Leagues Cup finishes pushes MLS over the top. And that's why I paused after that paragraph. Because when you're playing Leagues Cup, which is a stilted competition to begin with.
Yep.
Because no Liga MX team has a home game. They are a home team in a venue, but they do not have home matches in Mexico as a part of this tournament. So I don't know if Jeff Lynn's ELO-based system makes an adjustment for, okay, well, they're playing, but they're not playing at a home venue. I doubt very seriously they do. So that's a flaw in the ELO system, not accounting for a home game that's not a home game. And okay, great, cool. MLS is 9, but does ELO? I don't think that this system takes geography into account. Look, first and foremost, let me rewind a second. MLS is number 9 according to Opta. Huzzahs, hurrahs, and Serpentina and T-shirt cannons. Fantastic, great, cool. But the system that they're looking at here, I don't think is once again taking into account things that it needs to account for, even as MLS is apparently now number 9 according to Opta. Damn, did I get that out? Did that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it made all kinds of sense. You're not wrong. And there are tons of other variables that you have to take into consideration that I doubt. I mean, unless it's a modified system with some other math that is on top of the math that's already there. It's not going to take into account stuff like that. Like Leagues Cup is a kind of a new thing, and it's a very kind of one-off thing. I'm sure the rankings are definitely helped as well by, teams in Champions Cup that have done pretty well for MLS over the past couple of seasons. I mean, but again, like that wild card is Leagues Cup. Like it's free points basically for any MLS or Liga MX team if they were to do better, but it's just kind of thrown off. I think it throws off everything a little bit. So
yeah,
whatever.
However, D. Graham, I did just say Jeff Lynn and ELO. Yes, I did. And if I had worn their T-shirt this morning, I don't want the patent and trademark office police to come after us and like take this broadcast and take it off of the video section because of what I'm wearing this morning. Tyler is wearing his own gear. I would firmly anticipate. Is this true?
I am.
Yeah. See, and so he's got his scarves in Spike's gear. I've got SDH gear, but I want to save it for like out in the field. So what I do on the morning show is try to figure something out. Like I said, this morning I went with the San Diego Clippers, so the old Buffalo. Yes. Well, some of us of a certain vintage actually do have basketball cards where, Swen Nader and Bill Walton. So I was trying to think of something old and antiquated and classic and retro to wear this morning, and this was like the closest thing I could get so I could actually be on the show at 9:05. It's like I go into my closet and I'm like, do I want to wear that? No, that's a minor league baseball team. I don't know if I want to do that. Do I want to wear that? No, CFL's in season. Yeah, literally, these are the hard questions that
lots of decisions in the morning.
Well, but it's like, all right, what am I wearing? And I'm like, okay, do I get in trouble if I wear this? I don't know. So then we put that to the side and we come up with this. And so that's why most of my time is like Roots of Fight and the Pele stuff and anything obscure. But now that we're in the colder weather, I've got to figure out, okay, what do I have that's heavier weighted that won't get me in trouble? But yeah,
no, it was quite chilly this morning.
I know. And so are you coffeeing or are you doing something else?
Oh yeah, it's coffee. It's sadly,
and it's in this Mandalorian mug.
It is in the Mandalorian mug. It's empty at this point in time, which sucks.
Well, so do you need me to filibuster for a minute and talk?
No. I can wait. I can wait 20 minutes. I don't need it that bad.
Okay. So last night we had the USMNT going into Mexico to the Estadio Akron. It was a late night for those of us here on the East Coast, 10:30 start. And it wasn't good, Jerry.
No, it was not. It was, I don't know. I don't want to say coming back to earth because like the first match, you went out, you did the job, right? Like, and you kind of shown a few things that maybe you haven't really seen from the men's national team in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then you go and you play Mexico, and it always sucks losing to Mexico, and especially like with Pochettino being the new manager and coming in, and his predecessor did have a lot of success against Mexico, but it's a friendly, like, and it's his first set of games after being here for like a month. So I said it on the show the other day with you and Maddie and Sydney, like, you can't take a whole lot out of this window for
What?
the men's national team.
Why can't you overreact? Come on now.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Pochettino's a good manager. Pochettino needs time, obviously, to settle in. He needs time to kind of get a better idea of the pool. And it's funny because you look at Twitter this morning, and it's all about the depth. It's all about, this team has 5, 6, 7, like real star players, like really good players, and then there's a drop off. And there's a conversation to be had there for sure, but no manager in the world is going to go after being given the keys 1 month in and find every perfect player that's going to fit his system. This is not going to happen. So I would like to see changes with the personnel over the past couple of years. I think he needs to shake things up a little bit, but by nature of that, shaking things up, it's going to take time to kind of settle into like a new routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he might need to shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Hey.
Although Beyonce's and Lucy Lou's get on the floor, and we'll figure out who they are. Raul Jimenez had a free kick in the 22nd, and in replay from the end zone camera, it looked like Tim Ream might have redirected it a little bit or changed the rotation of the ball. Either way, Raul's free kick, Matt Turner had zero chance.
Yeah.
And perfectly placed in the upper 90. Matt Turner had no chance, and that was 1-0 in the 22nd. Along those lines, Andres Guardado played his last match for El Tri, and so they stopped the match in the 18th minute and had the big ceremony. They had him go out there and take the banner for the banner exchange and had him play 18 minutes. So then you had Raul scoring in the 22nd. And then it was 1-0 at the break. Huerta scored in the 49th to make it 2-0. Tim Ream was dispossessed at the edge of the 18, and it was basically converted very, very quickly. And the U.S., I think really the U.S., and it was off on the Big 55. Don't get me wrong. I was trying to multitask last night. But the first real chance seemed like it was the U.S. Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez in the 80th minute that had a shot and save opportunity where he was coming in from the attacking right, got inside. He was probably about 12 yards out and went near post with it. Keeper had the angle and parried it away, but that seemed like it was like the first real chance, if you want to put that in quotation marks, for this group. And as we always do, and Bart Keeler is going to join us bet and lead off on Friday morning, 12-0 advantage in shots for Mexico in the first half. 12-0. Last time I checked, that's not good.
Not at all.
So you had player ratings, and this is what we do with our friend Soccer America. They always like to probably have Overreaction Mondays the day after friendlies. So Matt Turner punched a 4. Had not played a competitive club match in more than 7 months, remained in the U.S. goal for the third straight match. Other than the 2 goals, he was not seriously tested. His distribution, again, wasn't great. And this is Mike Woitala from Soccer America. I'm reading what Woitala puts out here to lead into his grades. Contributing to the problems the USA had in gaining any kind of hold in the match. There were a couple of moments where Mexico buzzed the tower, and Matt Turner just barely got rid of the ball and ended up making its way towards center circle, instant turnover, and another chance for Mexico. So Turner gets a 4. Joe Scally, Tim Ream, Anthony Robinson each got 3s. Miles got a 2. I mean, you really got – I mean, I would think that on a scale of 1 to 10, you'd really have to suck to get a 2.
Yeah.
Midfield, Busio gets a 3. Brendan Aronson a 3. Aiden Morris a 2. Yunus Musa a 3. Josh Sargent, Malik Tillman 2s. Substitutes, Christopher Lund a 3. Alex Zendejas, who Jarrett mentioned before he had to leave us this morning. Alex Zendejas wanted to fight the entire country.
Yep.
Haji Wright got a 2. Tanner Tessman a 3. Brandon Vasquez a 4. Austin Trusty and incomplete. Mexico beat the U.S. for the first time since 2019, since a 3-0 loss at MetLife and the Meadowlands. Americans had won 5-3 in tournament finals and tied El Tri the other 2 times. So listening to those numbers, a very, very angry Paul Kennedy from Soccer America put all those numbers out. What say you, Tyler Pilgrim, about all those low numbers?
I mean, I don't know how you rate Tim Ream higher than Miles Robinson. And I liked him. I really do. Like, I think Tim Ream's a great defender, and I think he's aged like fine wine. But it really, to me, it doesn't even come down to the individual players as much as it does these players seem like, and I see Abby's comment, just seemed like there was like he was just off. But I think the whole team kind of felt like they're a bunch of guys trying to figure out a new set of tactics and changes and whatever. Like, you're being asked to go out there and do different things at different points in the very minute details of the ball being played. I'm not talking about like the overarching formation or whatever that falls apart the moment the opening whistle blows. I'm talking about like, when the player in front of you does this, what do you do? And when the player diagonally in front of you does this, what do you do? And that, I think, is where it kind of felt like there was a little bit too much thinking going on, because it's not muscle memory at this point. It's all very brand new. And yeah, I mean, the first thing, to Tim Ream, lucky, but the shot, like the fact that you had US fans being like, "Wow, that was a good shot," that should say something. Whatever,
you tip your hat, you move on.
Yeah. The last one, I mean, it happens. As a defender, you get beat, you get dispossessed, you get whatever, and it's always going to be the worst day for you when that happens. I mean, you can have 10 games in a row where you look phenomenal, and Tim Ream has. And then he has this one, and he got beat, and it is what it is. But the team as a whole wasn't playing well either. Your attack's not doing anything. They're not creating chances. Your midfield's not really holding it down like they need to. And so, yeah, Matt Turner, Miles Robinson, Tim Ream, like all those guys are getting left out to dry. And you can't do that against a team, especially in a rivalry. It doesn't matter if it's a friendly or not. Like, and especially one where the other team hasn't won in 5 years, they're a little pissed off about it. So I don't know. I mean, I think a little bit of that is harsh. I think just as a whole, the whole team deserves lower numbers, but they just didn't play as a cohesive unit at all.
Starting 11, it was Matt Turner and Ned who punched a 6.3, according to our friends at SofaScore. Everyone was in the sixes last night, according to SofaScore. Unfortunately, if you're Mike Woytal or Paul Kennedy, you're given 2s and 3s. Jedi had a 6.4. Joe Scally a 6.4. Miles had a 6.7. Tim Ream, who wore the captain's armband, a 6.9, even with what happened last night. Aiden Moore, a 6.3 with a yellow. Joel Cabusio, a 6.8. Yunus Musa, a 6.3. Malik Tillman, a 6.4. Brendan Aronson, a 6.9. Josh Sargent, a 6.5. To Abby's point, I was watching 2 to NA. And what they do, where she says she wishes the announcers would differentiate between the Robinsons, what they would do is they would go Robinson Miles, or they would go Robinson Jedi. They would do it that They would do it differently. They would do it that way, where it's Robinson one way and they'd go Robinson Miles, and then that way you knew what you were discussing here. Abby's kind of fed up with Josh Sargent. He needs to be done with being called up. And David had the ball in our control in the midfield. Never! 3 center mids were not making any impact. Lund also had a wide open chance, and whoops, it straight OB. I don't know if it's landed or if it just kind of rested in the mountain range after Stadio Akron. But Tim Ream had a 6.9 last night. Played the full 90. 4 clearances, a block, 2 total tackles. Was 6 of 7 on his duels. He lost possession 14 times last night.
That's rough.
Fouled once, 78 touches, 81% passing, 55 of 68, 7 of 14 on long balls. So that was Tim Ream last night. But I know that everyone's going to sit there and get locked into the dispossessing and the second goal on the board. Since we're on Josh Sargent. So Josh played 63 minutes before he was subbed out. 13 touches in 63 minutes. 5 of 8 passing, had his 1 long ball completed, 1 for 2 on his ground duels, 2 for 3 in the air. So 3 of 5 overall, lost possession 5 times, had a clearance and a tackle as well. So a very quiet evening for Josh Sargent. As I sit here and look at other numbers, Miles played the full 90, 5 clearances, 4 picks, 3 for 6 in the air, lost possession 11 times, 69 touches. Nice. 49 of 60 in passing, 82%. 4 for 10 on long balls last night for Miles Robinson. So, all right, so let's take that number that we were talking about here. Possessions lost. Miles lost possession 11 times. Tim Ream lost it 14. Jedi lost possession in 45 minutes Does it see how many times? 9 times. So 9, 20, 34. Joe Scally lost possession 16 times last night. So you're looking at 16, 11, and 14 on 3 of your 4 at the back. So that's 41 times that you lose possession among Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, and Joe Scally last night to El Tree.
Yeah, and I'm looking.
That's a big number.
It is a ridiculously big number, and I'm kind of looking at other numbers like dribbled past. So this is on FOTMob, so it might be a little different. Joe Scally once, Jedi it says once, which doesn't feel right, but I don't even know if it's going to have it for Tim Ream.
Right,
it doesn't. Okay, so that might be better.
Yes,
but I mean, yeah, I think. It wasn't good either way. Like, and I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm trying to spin it. Like individually, they have to do better, and it's with everything. Like the long balls, you got to be more accurate. You have to be, especially when you're pinned in and you're just kind of under a lot of pressure like that. We've seen it. Like Miles Robinson can hit a guy on a dime on a transition moment, but sometimes when you're off, and sometimes that comes down to you're thinking too much. You've got too much that you're worried about. You're trying to implement a new system. And again, I go back to that as a whole team thing, but your number 9 can't have 13 touches in a half and a half of a half. That's not okay. That's never a recipe for success. Little irritated that he didn't drop back a little further to kind of get more involved. Just get yourself more involved. Like if you're not getting the ball, you're going to have to change it up a little bit. And I mean, that's just maybe a maturity thing, an experience thing. I don't know, but none of this matters. And I always go back to it, but none of this matters if your midfield is just not doing their job. I mean, your midfield and your wingers to a degree, but they're the ones that are in charge of giving the number 9 the ball. And they just couldn't hold on to it. They couldn't keep possession long enough to really do anything in meaningful places on the pitch. And so, yeah, it's the numbers, like when the eye test and the numbers match up. And sometimes that's not true, but it does for this one.
Haji Wright had another 10 touches in the 27 minutes he was there. So 23 touches total for your striker in the match. Okay, so Aiden Morris, I know that David was asking how is Aronson a 6.9. So Aronson, 60 touches, 20 of 30 on passing, 3 key passes, 2 for 3 on crosses, 2 for 5 on long balls, 3 for 4 on the dribble, 8 of 15 on ground duels, 2 of 5 in the air, so 10 of 20 total. Lost possession 20 times, fouled once, 2 clearances, 4 tackles, and a dribble pass. So that's how Aronson ended up with a 6.9. So your midfield. Aiden Morris had a 6.3, 83 minutes, 42 touches, 28 of 34 passing. 3 of 8 on ground duels, lost possession 9 times, 2 fouls, fouled once, 2 total tackles, and a dribble pass. Gianluca Busio, a 6.8, 63 minutes, 34 touches, 17 of 20 passing, 6 of 7 on ground duels, lost possession 7 times, fouled 3 times, 2 blocks, 3 total tackles. Then Musa, who had the lowest rating of the midfield 3 that started, played 45, got swapped out. 10 touches, 5 of 7 passing, 10 touches in 45 minutes. 5 of 7 passing, 0 for 1 on the dribble, 0 for 2 on the ground, 0 for 1 in the air, lost possession 3 times, a foul, called offside once, had 1 clearance. And then the sub for Yunus Musa was Alejandro Zendejas, and he graded worse, 26 touches, 13 to 16 passing, 1 key pass, 1 cross completed on the 1 attempt, 0 for 1 on long balls, unsuccessful on every dribble attempt 3. 0 for 4 on ground duels, lost possession 7 times, fouled once, 1 pick. And so that was how he ended up with a 6.2 in 45 minutes subbing for Yunus Musa. So not a good day in the midfield at all.
No, and I think it feels mostly like a missed opportunity for Aiden Morris because I feel like this was a chance for him to go out and he was so good with Columbus. Like he kind of learned from the best, really. I mean, you learn from.
And he leaves Watford Nazi, goes to Middlesbrough, and it's lower than Major League Soccer in the English Championship.
What happened? It was a step down, Aiden. No. But I mean, I think it really does come down to this was just a game where nobody really took hold of it and made it their own, but especially like a midfielder who I think has a much higher upside and has a bright future. I really do, but you just didn't do it last night. And just one of those three starting midfielders, had one of them had a even slightly better game, we'd be having probably a different conversation. I'm not saying that the U.S. would have won, but there would be more chances. There would be, not the terrible statistic that you threw up a minute ago about the first half and shots and things like. I think it just took one of them to step up just a little bit, and unfortunately nobody did. And here we are.
And so, of course, the sky is falling. Oh my God! Oh my
Yes.
God! Oh my God! Everything is awful once again. I mean, I saw headlines this morning. Wake up call for Mauricio Pochettino, and it's like, oh no, nothing's changed. All of this Chicken Little ish. I mean, and I know why in some aspects folks do it. They're going to try and drive numbers, blah blah blah. But come on. It's his second match on a quick turn. He trots out most of the same lineup from a couple of days ago. He had to manage minutes, obviously, with folks swapping out for either ineffectiveness at 45 or swapping out folks in the 63rd. And yes, it was against Mexico. Yes, it was an opportunity to try to improve your standing, even as Canada ended up with the result that they did last night as well. So, no, it was not a good night when it came to the numbers and trying to get up the ladder when it comes to CONCACAF ratings and things like that. But it was his second match in a quick turn, and you're trying to figure out what else you've got when you had five guys who were either dinged or load managed, sent back to their clubs in Europe. And it was, as Jared has said, it was one of those Missouri games. Show me something.
Yeah.
And short of Alex Zendejas wanting to fight the entire country of Mexico, you had a lot of folks who were like, they didn't show me a whole lot.
Yeah, and you have to think about the lineup too. Again, we go back to the depth argument and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, every team in the world is going to have a handful of players that just admittedly are more talented or whatever. They just are better players in general. That's fine. And you didn't really have much of that last night. I'm not trying to knock this lineup or this group of guys, and that's not at all what I mean. But I just think, you can't judge a coach after two matches.
What?
Anyway,
what?
I'm just saying you can't do it.
Oh, come on!
But until you get that full on, first of all, a full camp, and then you're playing competitive minutes, and you have your big time guys really getting some minutes. Like if you were to march out the prime quote unquote starting 11, whoever that may be, but I'm sure it involves, probably somebody named Pulisic and a handful of others.
Yeah.
If they were to go do that against Mexico in an actual competitive match with both prime kind of starting 11s, then we would be having a conversation. But it's still just 2 games in. Mm-hmm. It's now a year from now when they're playing and things are getting closer to the World Cup, then absolutely the outrage, throw it out there, whatever. But right now, dude, just give them time. The biggest thing for Pochettino, for him, especially the way he looks at the game from like a intelligence standpoint, I think he's learned a lot about his own federation and learned a lot about who he has and who he can maybe count on or get a little bit more out of or change things up with, whatever. I think he's learned a lot about the internal workings, and now you got to go and actually start worrying about playing soccer against other people.
So what are the plans with Scarves and Spikes as we get closer to Decision Day, and Scarves and Spikes at Enter and Co?
Yep. So tonight we'll have the show. I'll actually be recording with Devin Kerr from Apple TV.
Yes.
Shortly before, so we'll have that actually play on the show, and then we will. So Sydney and Tommy, and again, y'all are invited. Madison said she might jump on, but the watch along over on Patreon, and I'll be down in Orlando though. I'll actually be at the stadium seeing whatever happens.
Yep, Nate McCady, Devin Kerr on the call for Atlanta United and the Purple Team on Decision Day at Enter and Co. As always, my friend, great to see you on the midweek, where we get to add your craziness to our craziness, and it turns into a large stack of crazy on a Wall Pass Wednesday, but no one should really be surprised. As always, my friend, go refill your coffee. We'll catch up with you soon.
I will. Appreciate it. See you.
All right, there goes Tyler. He's going to go get coffee because he doesn't have any more. He has no more coffee. So man has priorities. And so he's got that. I still have some Mountain Dew left here. So no, it will be hour number 2. We're going to catch up on Thomas Tuchel. He had his press conference this morning, and he is now official as the new man in charge of Britain, Great Britain, the Three Lions, as appointed by the FA. He's going to start in 2025, and we'll get into that in a sec. But since Tyler mentioned Devin Kerr and Nate Bacady, we do have our announcer assignments for Decision Day, and it is Nashville at Chicago, Neil Sika, Lloyd Sam. DC hosting Charlotte, Eric Krakauer, Jalil Anibaba. Jake and TT are at the Erector set from Messi and Friends as they host the Revs. Joe Tollison and Greg Sutton are in Stade Saputo for NYC and Montreal. Callum and Kalen are at Harrison, New Jersey for Crew and Red Bulls. We mentioned Nate and Devin for Purple Team hosting Atlanta United. Kanji and Danny are in Philadelphia for Philadelphia and FC Cincinnati. 9 o'clockers, Tony Husband and Ross Smith are in Austin for Los Verdos hosting Colorado. Mark Followell, Warren Barton. Mark Followell gets a home game and gets to go out to Toyota for FCD and Sporting Kansas City. Max and Dunny are in Houston for the Dynamo and LAG. LAFC hosting San Jose, and that is Rodolfo Landeros and Mariano Trujillo. Chris Whittingham and Kendra D. St. Aubin. Kendra gets a home match as Chris has all caps City SC going to take on the Loons. Then it is Rogo and Heath Pierce there in Salt Lake for Vancouver and RSL, and Keith and Mower in Seattle for Cascadia with Portland and with Seattle. So those are your MLS season pass broadcast assignments for Decision Day. And remember, 6:10, 9:10. Eastern Conference at 6:10, Western Conference at 9:10 for all the activity that's going on Saturday as we get you close to Decision Day. We mentioned Thomas Tuchel, and he is now officially the man for the FA taking over. And you have all the pictures at Wembley and all the shiny things. So he has obviously the statements that have been put out. 51-year-old welcomed an informal approach around 3 weeks ago before holding advanced talks with the FA over the past week. Actually signed his deal October the 8th, but the FA say they chose to delay announcing him so as not to disrupt Lee Carsley in the build-up to the Nations League matches against Greece and Finland from our friends at Gimme Sports and our buddy Ben Jacobs. Tuchel made it clear from the outset he was attracted by the vacancy, while the FA feels he fulfills their criteria as not only a world-class coach with a history of winning trophies, but also someone with encyclopedic knowledge of English football. And, quote, very proud to have been given the honor of leading the English team. Long felt a personal connection to the game in this country. It's given me some incredible moments already, and that's from the release. So, joined by former Chelsea assistant Anthony Barry, who followed him to Bayern. Also expected Chelsea keeper coach Enrique Ilario will also link up with Tuchel in a part-time role, set to become one of England's best-paid managers. Sources tell Gimme Sport his salary is in excess of £6 million with bonuses, meaning he will earn a similar wage to Fabio Capello. So, first message is England boss. He says he'll try to get a second star on the shirt. And so he said that as a part of his welcoming message on social media. Wembley's the heart, the capital, and the cathedral of football. And he pulled a quote from Pele about the building, and he says, I think Pele was absolutely right. Tuchel responds to those who prefer an English manager for England, quote, I'm sorry, I just have a German passport. But supporters who know me already felt my passion for the Premier League and this country. I am proud to be England manager. Confirms he was sold on the job quickly. This excited me very quickly. I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, the league, and the players. The attitude here is one of a kind. Within weeks, we found a vision, project, and adventure to share. Now I have to live up to it. I know there are some trophies missing in the Federation, and I want to make it happen. And so, yeah, Tommy Tuchel was already giving stern stares and listening intently to reporters' questions. He says the contract is for 18 months, starting on January 1st. Says, quote, it's 18 months, and then we agreed to sit together and see. I have good experience with 18 months personally, and I'm working on my long-term game. It was important for me to have a frame around it because it's a bit of a step into the unknown for me. I'm used to working in a daily environment, and this will be different. The 18 months is a good time frame because it will help us to focus on qualification and the World Cup. We are here to work on the best possible outcome for the 2026 World Cup, and then let's see. So that is that's the early returns from Thomas Tuchel, and the key points from the presser, according to Sam Green, who was there from the Telegraph. He said he's sorry for not being English, but he aims to prove how much he loves being England manager through hard work and results. He has not yet decided, and this is, like I said, these are the key talking points according to Sam Green in the Telegraph. Tuchel likes and made up the time frame for the 18-month contract because international management is that step in the dark for him. He has not yet decided if he will sing the English national anthem. Said the main aim is to get England a second star on their shirt by winning the 2026 World Cup. And the FA interviewed 10 candidates, including some Englishmen. So that was, that was part of the process that was attached in searching for the new coach for the Three Lions. Tuchel was asked if Harry Kane would be his captain. I spoke to no one during the hiring process. We kept the process very confidential. I did not speak to Harry nor Gareth Southgate. It's too early to answer these sorts of questions. You know how highly I think of Harry, but it's also very important to give respect to Lee Carsley, and the upcoming camp so he can take his decisions freely without me interfering. And he was asked about being a target of Manchester United, and Tuchel kind of just swatted that one away. He says Bullingham left one about if any candidate had rejected an approach from the FA. And so Bullingham was not going to be in a position to sit there and go, I'm not going to answer that one. So not happening. So that was no for the head of the FA. He was not going to answer that question about if anybody turned them down. And Tuchel batted away the question about, hey, well, you were possibly thought of Manchester United too. So he didn't answer the one about Manchester United, and Bullingham didn't answer about if anybody turned him down. And standard defense press conference tactics. That is, once again, according to Sam Green at the Telegraph, that is, we are focused on the task here. We are not going to answer any questions outside of that purview. Let's see. A question has been asked in German, and then the press officer wasn't quite, prepared for it. And Tuchel's asked, shall I translate? So that was an interesting moment. Tuchel on the short contract. We talked about that. Tuchel says, I can understand some people who would prefer an English coach, but I think we deserve a fair chance for having a good record in the country and for how much we love living in this country. We'll try to convince them through results. The players have proved that they are there. The consistency is impressive. We have players who compete in the strongest league in the world every week. We have the ingredients, and we fully trust that this is the moment to install from club football patterns, behaviors, and principles to push the team over the line. We will need luck also, but we feel confident. We speak openly about the target, the second star, but I have to prove myself every day. And then he was asked about the singing the English national anthem. He says, Tuchel says, quote, I understood it's a personal decision. I've not made my decision yet. I want to be honest. The English anthem is very moving. I've experienced it, and it's very touching. No matter what decision I take, I will show respect to this country and the anthem, but I need a little more time on this decision. On why he took the job. Quote, I was not sure before if this was a job for me, but we found many things that suited me. I always wanted to come back to England. That was a big goal. The attitude to the game and the supporters here are one of a kind. Now I have to live up to it. And I know there are some trophies missing. I want to make that happen. Gareth Southgate's legacy. Quote, I will build on it. Gareth and the FA did a superb job. Look at the last results in tournaments. It's outstanding. It was a big part of taking the job. We'll build on it and hopefully add a little bit extra to get it over the line. Bullingham and the FA defend not hiring an Englishman. Quote, we were always clear we wanted the best person for the job, and we owed that to the players in the country, and we feel we've done that. And so Mark Bullingham spoke, the FA CEO, outlining the recruitment process, delighted to sign the contract with Tuchel, wanted to wait for the international window to shut. Thanked Lee Carsley for stepping in as interim manager. So, dozen cameras in the room, and you now have Thomas Tuchel in charge of the Three Lions, Mauricio Pochettino in charge of the U.S. men's national team. And so there are articles that are all up and down the papers just to give you a buzz of the headlines. Oliver Brown in a commentary, best man for the job. And then you also have a comment, why Tuchel should not be England manager. Sure, why not? Sam Wallace performing the role of the isolationist today. Why Tuchel should not be England manager. I'm going to go ahead and see what he has to say. I'm going to buzz through it real quick. The FA should have hired an English coach. Throwing money at overseas talent that reduces international game to an imitation of club football. Sam Wallace is an angry individual. It's got to be English or it ain't worth it, basically, is what Sam Wallace is saying. So let's not look out our own borders of a global game. Let's try and focus on something that should be held internally. How did that work in keeping folks like Gareth Southgate around long term? You chased away Graham Potter, didn't you? Apparently, England, the FA targeted Carlo Ancelotti, but not Eddie Howe, according to Gary Lineker and Alan Shearer. So a lot of that is there. Speaking of Manchester United, I don't know if you saw this. This was what I wanted. I was thinking that maybe this should be the opening kickoff this morning. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And so I tackle it, a whole hour and 10 minutes in this morning. So there's your QR code. For those of you who are hanging out and watching us, however you're watching us live or listening to us on tape later, on the YouTubes, on the Twitch, or on the 280-character app. You click on that QR code. You kick off your day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I knew I forgot to do something this morning. And what you do is you get your Kickoff Coffee, variety of flavors, whatever your taste is, whatever aisle it sends you down. And then in turn, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%. Reinvest it in the youth game, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay, so we talked yesterday a lot about Sir Alex Ferguson and what Ineos is doing and the timing that really needed to be a lot better in saying that they weren't going to continue the contract of Sir Alex as an ambassador, and it's like £2.5 million a year, like $2.8 million a year. So as a part of their cost-cutting measures, Ineos has decided that they're no longer going to have Ambassador Sir Alex Ferguson under contract. One guy that I don't think you really ever want to get mad about this whole thing is a guy like Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona went on his social media platforms and basically let Manchester United's front office have it from every angle possible. So here's what Cantona said on his social media after it was revealed that the global ambassador and club director was no longer going to be under contract at the end of the year. So Cantona on Instagram, quote, Sir Alex Ferguson should be able to do anything he wants at the club until the day he dies. Such a lack of respect. It's totally scandalous. Sir Alex Ferguson will be my boss forever, and I throw them all in a big bag of ish. End quote. I figured I'd let Jarrett be the one who I'll let everybody else be the one that gives the explicit rating in the morning. So, yeah, Cantona says Sir Alex Ferguson will be my boss forever, and I throw them all in a big bag of ish. And he didn't use the word ish. Cantona was Ratcliffe's favorite former player, so much so that the Ineos chair named the holding company that he used to buy United Trawlers Limited after one of the Frenchman's most immortal quotes. Cantona used the word trawler in his press conference address in 1995 after getting banned for kung fu kicking a Crystal Palace fan. When the Seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. So, yeah, Eric Cantona is hot. More than normal over what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are doing to Sir Alex at the end of the year. So you've got that folks are. I mean, the timing needed to probably be a little better instead of a part of the cost-cutting moves. I mean, maybe wait until the end of the year, wait until the end of the contract, and say, we love Sir Alex. He can still come around and be a part of things here. We can still be an ambassador. Unfortunately, because of the financial situation that we are monitoring every single day here at Manchester United and Ineos, unfortunately, we cannot continue to have him be an ambassador at his current salary figure. We welcome his presence at Old Trafford and can't wait to see him at the beginning of the year for all the home matches starting again here in 2025 as we finish out the 2024-25 season, period, end of quote. No, you can't do that. Instead, you're like, no, we're not gonna renew his contract. And you say it right now. When you're 14th in the table, you're transitioning all these different elements of your program. And part of it is to basically take an ambassador who is your legendary manager and say, in the middle of all of this reorganization that you're being public about with redundancies and job cuts and budget cuts and things that, do make sense, the whole corporate car thing and the limos and the company credit cards and all that kind of stuff being trimmed and or cut from their usages. You decide that saying that Sir Alex will not be renewed as an ambassador is going to be a part of all of that discussion instead of just quietly, maybe at the end of the contract, saying we're not going to renew it. As a part of the meat of the sandwich that you're in right now, you say what you're going to say about Sir Alex Ferguson. So fans may not already not like you for a double negative, and then you decide what you're going to do is do that in the middle of this. Be quiet about it. Conduct better business. Just look, if you're going to do it at the end of the deal. We're not going to renew. Timing needed to be a little better. And I say a little better, meaning a lot better. And so Eric Cantona, somebody that you never want to get mad at you, is now mad at you. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's favorite player is now mad at him. How's that working? Aye. Other news of the morning, by the way. Jonas Eidevall has resigned as Arsenal's women's head coach after fan unrest. I meant to get into this yesterday. Increased pressure on the Swedish manager. Some supporters protesting and booing in a defeat by Chelsea. So Jonas Eidevall, who'd been there since June of 21, he was in his fourth year, resigned under increased pressure in recent months given the club's results. Finished third in last year's Women's Super League, 5 points behind Chelsea and runners-up Man City. Form has caused them to slump to sixth after just one win in four, losing 2-1 to Chelsea at the Emirates. Lost 5-2 in the midweek to Bayern in the Women's Champions League. You've got a bunch of backlash from fans. Club confirmed on immediate effect Eidevall had left his role, adding Renee Slagers, first-team assistant, will take charge as interim with the Champions League match tonight against Vålerenga of Norway. So no more Jonas Eidevall. Benjamin Mendy ignored all the rules, according to Manchester City's lawyer in the employment tribunal. Club's lawyer says the City left back has only himself to blame for not being paid after partying and breaking bail conditions. Mendy is claiming £11 million in unpaid wages from the day he was charged to the end of his City contract. Mendy thought he could, quote, ignore all the rules, end quote, with his notorious partying before losing his monthly £500,000 gig. Club's barrister told an employment tribunal. Sean Jones, KC, said Mendy had only himself to blame, which often for his partying, which often took place during lockdown, along with breaking bail conditions, which led to his arrest and stay in jail. Mendy's tribunal claim for £11.5 million in unpaid wages after he was charged with sex offenses will now be decided in 4 weeks after evidence was wrapped up in Manchester. Launched his claim after being cleared of all charges after 2 trials last year. Jones said Mendy argued his contract of employment created a, quote, moral hazard, end quote, for his employers. Barrister said, quote, he's in a position where he should be in a position to say, and does say, I can behave as irresponsibly as I like. I can ignore all the rules, both legal and common sense, to the point that my behavior results in me being placed in prison and thus unable to perform any of my duties that should in no way affect my entitlement to pay. In other words, there's to be no consequence for his behavior. Jones said in September 2020, the government imposed, quote, the rule of 6 COVID restrictions. However, on October 6, 2020, Mendy held a party at his home. Police were called. Jones, the lawyer, said anyone else would think they were lucky and had a narrow escape, but Mendy held another party the next day where the rape allegation was made. Jones said at that point he's been engaging for years in highly risky behavior, bringing home women while knowing very little about them. Partied too much and too often. So that is the short version of what's going on with Benjamin Mendy and his employment tribunal. Let's see if there's anything else. Nothing in the Telegraph. We're going to take the tour really quickly here and see what else we're missing and or not talking about as of yet. There are some things going on. FIFPro has forced a complaint now. They put a complaint up on the board for the schedule up against FIFA. And so you've got that to look into. And how is that going to look when it comes to schedules and schedule compression? You have folks who are not happy right now about all of these matches in all of this schedule compression. Cristiano Ronaldo has stormed off the pitch in a goalless draw with Scotland in European Nations League. Earned a draw and ended their poor run. Michael Grant was at the match yesterday. And after the match, CR39 gave 2 thumbs down from the Emperor's box. Released the Lions, I guess. Couldn't break down the Scotland defense. It was a draw in UEFA Nations League. Apparently, it was a very painful match to watch, period. But CR39 basically, both thumbs down. He was not happy with it. But it ended up being a goalless draw in Nations League yesterday. Roberto Martinez tried to go to his bench late. Scotland on the back foot. Possession 70-30 for Portugal. 14 shots to 4. 3 shots on target to 2. More than 2.5 times as many passes, passing at 91% accuracy. 10 corners won by Portugal. 32 fouls, 19 of them to Portugal. 1 corner for Scotland, by the way. Yellow cards, 4 for Portugal, 1 for Scotland. And Roberto Martinez said it had been worrying and potentially dangerous that a fan was able to invade the pitch at Hampden and run almost half the length of it in an attempt to reach Cristiano Ronaldo in the second half of the draw. The intruder, according to Michael Grant, who appeared to come from the Portuguese fan section, seemed to want a selfie, but he was rugby tackled to the ground by a steward when he got to within a few yards of Ronaldo, then led away. Security breached the latest of numerous incidents of fans racing onto the pitch to get to the 39-year-old superstar. Messi has had the same thing happen to him. We've seen a couple of instances where the security got to the pitch invader first. If it was a young fan, then Messi would kind of allow the selfie and then kind of would give the kid a push away from the cops to see if he could give him a bit of a head start. Martinez, after the match, he says, unfortunately, it happened too many times. It's not the first time. During the European Championship, we had many, many occasions. Of course, we know what Cristiano brings to the game. We understand that. When you have someone jumping on the pitch with the wrong intentions, it's very dangerous. I was worried. I'm glad it just was what it was. Martinez claimed to be unaware of Ronaldo leaving the pitch and storming up the tunnel at full time, apparently outraged by the referee's decision not to award a corner in the final seconds, while the rest of his players went over to acknowledge the visiting supporters. So right now, B4 in the group, Turkey leading Wales, Iceland, and Montenegro 10 points to 8-4. Montenegro, 4 losses in their first 4 matches and a goal difference of -5. So let's see. Let's see what other things, because there's Messi last night. We've got to get into what happened in CONMEBOL. We'll actually get into that more tomorrow with Nino when he comes in at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll discuss it a little bit here and then go a little further along and look at everything else that has been going on. So Cristiano Ronaldo, 2 thumbs down. 2 thumbs down. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all that he allegedly, possibly, apparently stormed up the tunnel and not in and around everybody else. And didn't thank the fans or whatever. Let's see. Trying to check headlines. Lionel Messi had a hat trick. He scored his 10th hat trick for Argentina. The game was on Universo last night. 6-0 for Argentina over Bolivia and Buenos Aires. He now has 112 international goals, second all time. And there's a cool picture from Daniel Jaio at Getty. Messi and Thiago Almada together on the pitch after he scored goal number 5. So Messi played the entire match at the Monumental, scored in the 19th, the 84th, and the 86th. Cristiano Ronaldo has 133 goals, scored more international goals in men's football. He is number 1. Messi's number 2. Messi acknowledged his international career is approaching its end when he refused to say whether he would play at the 2026 World Cup. However, press agencies to The Guardian, he acknowledged, he says, quote, "I didn't set any date or deadline about my future," Messi said. "I'm just enjoying all of this. I'm more emotional than ever and taking all the love from the people because I know these can be my last games," end quote. Said his younger teammates help him enjoy football as he approaches 40, which is crazy to think. Quote, "It's a joy to be present and appreciate this moment. Being surrounded by younger teammates, given my age, makes me feel like a kid again. I find myself doing silly things because I feel so comfortable. As long as I maintain that feeling and can continue contributing to the team, I plan to be here." Scaloni, meaning the national team, Scaloni said he hopes Messi's international career continues as long as possible. Quote, "Never ceases to amaze me. At one point, I sit down with assistant coach Pablo Aimar and tell him that this is wonderful to be able to be on the bench and see the things he does. The team is with him, and what I ask him to do is play as long as he can," end quote. Brazil under Dorival Jr. beat Peru 4-0. That scream you heard was Nino. Argentina leads South American qualifying 22 points after 10, 3 points clear of Colombia, who beat Chile 4-0. Uruguay and Brazil have 16 points each. Uruguay in third place on goal difference. Ecuador, Paraguay follow with 13. Ecuadorians fifth on goal difference. The top 6 get automatic berths to the 2026 World Cup. And you remember, you're only halfway through this. You're only halfway through CONMEBOL right now. 7th place team, which is currently Bolivia, will play in an international playoff for a spot in the expanded 48-team tournament, probably against someone from Oceania, would be where that play-in match would be when it comes to your opponent. According to Jacob Steinberg, it looks like Manchester City might be targeting Ruben Amorim if Pep Guardiola leaves. Amorim, and this is something else that we'll talk to Nino about. We've discussed Ruben Amorim and what he has been able to do at Sporting in Portugal, Sporting CP. And he's obviously very close to the incoming director of football. So it would make sense with Hugo Viana coming in, taking over for director of football, Shiki Begiristain, next summer, the director of football, that it would be with Viana coming in, it would make sense that he's looking at Ruben Amorim to be the new manager of Manchester City at the moment when Pep Guardiola decides that he's going to hang it up and move to New York and be at Central Park West and stare out at New York City for a year and then be a part of NYCFC as they open up Dylan Butler Estates. Just saying. As everyone is locking into the idea of anything can happen with Pep Guardiola. When Guardiola says, well, anything can happen in terms of the future, City has a succession plan in place, apparently, and it is looking like it is going to be with Viana for Begiristain, might be Hugo Amorim involving what's up with Pep Guardiola. Whenever anything can happen, actually happens. And so, obviously, Viana has been at Sporting since 2018. he's going to collaborate with Begiristan before he retires at the end of the year. So you've got that transition and that level of comfortability to create a word. So Viana can understand what the machinations are in place with the Begiristan, and he can show him, okay, your key card works here, 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 and here. And here's where you check in, here's where you park, here's your parking space, all these kinds of things to get Viana ready for the offseason, whenever that is for Manchester City. Then Begiristan goes off into the sunset and retires and sits on a beach. Then Viana takes over, and then whenever anything can happen actually happens, it makes sense to be looking at Ruben Amorim to take over as a possibility for Pep Guardiola. So there have been indications Amorim will be a leading contender if a vacancy at City arises. So skepticism at the time, Amorim would seriously consider moving to West Ham, who ended up appointed Lopetegui, and he's been content to stay at Sporting and wait for a top job. I think it's safe to say that Manchester City would be a top job. Just saying. So you have that as a part of your as a part of your thought process, and just kind of looking into the future a little bit. Looking into the future a little bit. If you want to add 1 and 2 and come up with 12, or add 1 and 2 and come up with 3. That's what you're staring at right now, with Shiki Begiristan as director of football leaving, Viana coming in with the period of transition. Begiristan shows Viana around. Whenever anything can happen happens, it would make sense to keep an eye on Ruben Amorim at Sporting CP in Portugal, and he may be a top contender for the gig at Manchester City when all of that happens. So you've got all of that to stare at when it comes to the possible future for Manchester City. The sidebar. I'm going to call a sidebar here for a second before we get into saying hello and saying hi to everybody. The FA Cup first round was announced the other day, and there's some interesting matchups. One in particular, and you can't make this stuff up. It was FA Cup first round, and AFC Wimbledon, the Dons, where your boy here is a part of the Dons Trust and understands what has been built over the last handful of seasons, and the continued hatred, understandably so, with the folks at AFC Wimbledon and the club that used to be Wimbledon that moved an hour away so they could be in a shiny 30,000 seat stadium and have another name. And basically they've been disowned. It's like, you'd sit there and you take the sleeve and you rip the sleeve off and you throw it away. That's what the team that was in Wimbledon and now is not, is a part of the FA Cup. Those two teams are actually going to play each other in the first round of the FA Cup. Next month, they faced each other in league play this year, and AFC Wimbledon beat the team that left 3-0. And so it was just one of the anywhere between November 1st to November 4th is what you're staring at when it comes to the FA Cup. And then, you can't put it past them because they like irony as much as the next guy. And you end up with what you ended up in a first-round matchup where AFC Wimbledon is playing the team that used to be in Wimbledon. And it's funny because there are times, morning robes, there are times where the folks at Wimbledon, they're not fans of what's going on with the team that left town. When the team that left town comes back and they played at Cherry Red, or they now play at Plough Lane, they are not identified on the scoreboard by their real name. And the EFL actually fined AFC Wimbledon for not, basically it was like visitors. It's like AFC Wimbledon plays visitors, not even identifying them by name on the scoreboard or in the game day program. That kind of pettiness I thoroughly do enjoy, considering that they just decided to pack up and leave. Kind of like the Baltimore Colts kind of deal. But it's Right now, the Dons, AFC Wimbledon, a win to the good in league play in League Two this year, but FA Cup's an entirely different gig. So we have somewhere between November 1st and November 4th what we're staring at involving the tournament, where the team that used to be in Wimbledon is going to be playing Wimbledon away at the venue that now hosts the team that used to be in Wimbledon and is now an hour away. Because they wanted the new shiny, they wanted the new shiny 30,000 seat facility. They got it. And then in 11 years, AFC Wimbledon went from basically starting brand new to being where they are right now in the EFL. Okay, so let's get back to saying hi to everybody. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. Let's see. Morning, D. Graham. But yeah, D. Graham, ELO was a great show. Went there, and literally when I saw that they were on tour and Jeff Lynne said that he's in his last tour and this is what it's going to be, I'm like, yeah, we got to get tickets. So we got tickets, and we went with some friends who were in other places. But yeah, we couldn't resist not seeing ELO, if that makes sense. So, yeah, couldn't resist not seeing Jeff Lynne. And the thing is, at his core, I think Jeff Lynne is a musical nerd. And I think he is still in awe of all of the big crowds that come and see ELO. I think it started back when this recent run with Jeff Lynne's ELO started back, I want to say Glastonbury back in 2019, and he was shocked. He was concerned at how many people would actually care. And they came back to Glastonbury for the first time, and Jeff Lynne was shocked about the fan response. And so that's when they went back out on tour, and he started to have new material. And this is it for him. So it was kind of weird because it was seeing them 47 years apart. Saw him at the Omni when I was a kid for the New World Record Tour. And they had a robot come out on stage and introduce the band, and then they played. And then when they left, the robot came back out on stage and told everybody, thanks for coming by, have a safe evening, go back and go home. But yeah, then seeing them at State Farm 47 years later, it's like 1977 and 2024. I had to do the math. 47 years between appearances for me, keeping an eye on ELO. But now it was a great show. I don't know how many shows are left in this tour, but I think it's toward the end of it. And if you're in any position to go see it, I'd recommend it. Let's see. Morning, Abby. Yeah, and Abby, yeah, the whole thing about differentiating between the Robinsons. For me, when I was watching Tuda, and it was Robinson Miles and Robinson Jedi. So that was how they differentiated. And I was like, yep, that pretty much did it. Morning, David. Morning, D. Graham. And Morning Ropes. And D. Graham discussing the whole thing about English managers in charge of the FA. Howard Wilkinson was the last English manager to win in England's top flight, 91-92 in the final season before the creation of the Premier League. Because English coaches are leading the top of the Premier League sides at the moment. All right, so let's see if we can determine. And by the way, fix your fantasy teams. By the way, in all of your leagues. The last weekend for the league here with SDH over at MLSsoccer.com, and keep an eye on that and go for one last sprint because if you've done your double match week, you're kind of pinned in a little bit. Points itself in mirror. So Liverpool, Arne Slot. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola. Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. Chelsea. Who's the manager at Chelsea? They all run together these days. Who's the one that's in charge of all of the friggin' money? All the friggin' money these days. Oh, Enzo Maresca. That's right. All right. So, and then Villa is Unai Emery. Brighton is Fabian Hertzler. Newcastle, Eddie Howe. So 7th right now is the highest position for Newcastle when it comes to their managers right now. So number 7. And then other English managers, Steve, I was going to say Steve Cooper, but he's at Leicester. Let's see. So going down. Who's the manager at Bournemouth right now? Oh man, this is annoying. I can't think of them off the top of my head as I'm sitting here and I'm going. Let's let's see. So the Premier League managers list, overview and stats. Okay. So, all right. So Arteta, Spain, Emery, Spain, Andoni Iraola. That's who it is. Spain. Thomas Frank, Denmark. Fabian Hertzler, Brighton, Germany. Maresca, Chelsea, Italy. Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace, Austria. Sean Dyche, Everton, England. Marco Silva, Fulham, Portugal. Kieran McKenna, Ipswich, Northern Ireland. Steve Cooper, Leicester, Wales. Arne Slot, Liverpool, Netherlands. Pep, Manchester City, Spain. Eric Ten Hag, Netherlands. Eddie Howe, England. Nuno, Portugal. Russell Martin, Scotland. Ange, Australia. Lopetegui, Spain. Gary O'Neill at Wolves, England. So 3 technically from England itself. Scotland gives you Russell Martin. Wales gives you Steve Cooper. Kieran McKenna, Northern Ireland. 6 of the 20. And the highest ranked English manager is Eddie Howe at number 7. Thank you. Yeah, Enzo Maresca. It took me a second. But yeah. So Enzo is part of it. But yeah, the top-ranked English manager is Eddie Howe right now at number 7. So, of course, let's be isolationist. Let's be isolationist when it comes to what we're looking at with managers and such. That's a great approach to have. Let's be isolationist managers or an isolationist country and not look for the best one available. Let's do that, shall we? It's a great idea. So frustrating sometimes. And we've seen it this morning. It's already out there. 2 matches in, wrap it up, throw it away, forget it. It was a bad idea. He's got his lesson to learn. He's got it. Pochettino, he's got a lesson. Learned his lesson. He's got to learn from what happened here. It's not going to be as easy as he thought. All the harumphing and the doom and gloom and all this kind of stuff this morning. I don't know. Like we were saying, it is his second match. Second. Pochettino's second match. 1-2. 5 players gone for injury and load management, including Pepe, Pulisic, Zach Steffen, Fossey. Look, you're in a friendly window. Yes, you could have, with a win and some help last night, you could have improved your lot when it comes to jumping over Canada in the rankings in this particular hemisphere. Didn't happen. So Nations League is now, I think Nations League path is somewhat locked in place. So is it coming from the Alexis and Kellers? I'm sure it is. I don't know. One of the things that, and we talked about Casey Keller in his rant yesterday, I'm sure that he was frothing at the mouth waiting for that 3rd goal. I was waiting for social media to sit there and have Casey Keller discussing, I told you so. I was waiting for that. So let's see if Casey Keller posted anything. Did he post anything after last night? No. Well, let's see. On his personal Twitter, he hasn't done anything since late 2020. So did Casey Keller post anything in the I told you so vein after last night? Sounders did. Let's see. So Casey Keller was mad. Apparently, no, he did not. So I'm guessing that I'm still waiting, frankly. But we'll see. As of this moment, Casey Keller has not said anything to follow up or any of the Reynas. Have not seen anything of that vein from anyone like that at all. Have not seen anything in that vein at all from any of them. That you would think that in a situation like where Casey Keller just decided to try and open up a can and yell and old man screams at clouds, that he would have been immediately, and I literally was waiting. I literally was waiting for a third goal to happen where Casey Keller would sit there and in all caps on whatever social media or whatever interview he's, I told you so, see? Waiting for something like that to go down. Haven't seen it on the 280 character app yet. Have not seen it on the 280 character app yet. And so since Ropes has mentioned the other individual who knows that he is a wrestling character, he is a wrestling character. What did he say after last night? Okay. And he alleges that he after the match last night, he claims to have had a balanced response. A balanced response. Except for this. And literally, this is 8 minutes of difference. An hour ago, the red-headed individual, U.S. Soccer and Mauricio Pochettino, phoned it in against Mexico, our biggest rival. If they don't care, then why should we? Then 8 minutes closer to this particular moment in time, he's asked if we really can blame Pochettino in only 2 matches. The red-headed individual goes, of course, it's his team. He's the coach, and he calls the shots. It was a bad night. Pochettino will be fine. All that really matters is 2026. And also, Big FOX probably needs to, from what we understand, they may be searching for a new broadcast partner. A new broadcast partner might be interested in looking at taking the world competition away from Big FOX. It was announced that there might be some other folks who are interested. Peacock being one of them, Peacock/NBC. So Big FOX might need to kind of keep their eye on their pocketbook. Paramount was thought of as possibly being interested, but not necessarily so, as engaged as others. But it is thought that there will be bid competition for the U.S. soccer broadcast rights for the world competition after 2027. So keep an eye on all of that going forward. Phoned it in against Mexico. I'd like to know what phoning it in means. It was a bad night. I am not going to dispute that it was a bad night. At the same time, I'd like to know what you think, and I need a definition for phoning it in. For the big names that were away, that were injured, obviously you were shorthanded. You had a lot of folks up the middle. You needed some help on the wing. But when you say phoning it in, what do you mean? I needed to be, and this is the point that Jared has made. This was a Missouri match for me. This is what point that we made in hour number 1 as we circle back and come full circle this morning. That you end up with a situation where I needed to see from a lot of folks what you could do in a Mexico-friendly situation. And there weren't a whole lot of folks that might have showed a whole lot. I mean, we go back over the numbers. There's a lot of 2s and 3s. Like I said, Bart will join us on Friday morning bat and leadoff to kind of go into this a little bit more in depth. But it was an opportunity for a lot of folks to sit there. It's like, okay, the starters aren't here. Starting lineup: Turner, Scally, Robinson, Miles, Ream, Robinson, Jedi. Christopher Lund comes in as a sub at half. Austin Morris, so Aiden Morris, Austin Trusty, sub, few minutes. Joel Cabusio, Tanner Tessman, sub. Aronson, Malik Tillman, Haji Wright, sub. Yunus Musa had a lot of zeros in his first 45, sub for Zendejas for the second 45. Josh Sargent played 62. Brandon Vasquez came in after. 17-5 shots, Mexico. 5 on target to 1. Saves, Matt Turner had 4 compared to 1. 5 corner kicks each, 21 fouls, 2/3 of those to Mexico. 3 offside total, 2 of those to the U.S. possession, 53-47. But you know what we always say about possession. U.S. returns to action November for CONCACAF Nations League quarters, expected to be against Jamaica. So once again, you get what you've earned. But November should be looking at a roster that you'll have to navigate the playoffs for your domestic players, and then the resumption of the season when it comes to European football and every place else that you want to bring players in from, to end a sentence in a preposition. But this was a match where a lot of folks that we do not necessarily focus a lot of our time on had an opportunity to sit there and go, hey, look at me, I deserve more minutes and more looks, and they didn't earn that. What do those individuals do from this moment forward? What does a November camp look like getting ready for Nations League, playing up against Jamaica? And we are fairly certain that Andre Blake will be the one in between the sticks for Jamaica in those matches, if in fact that is the opponent path. So it will be a tough effort against Jamaica where you're going to have to be clinical. You can get the opportunities, but you've got to get them past Andre Blake. That's the big hook in all of that. So we'll see. But that is right now where we are. But to Ropes' point, you are getting your hot takey, oh my God, it's the end of the world kind of stuff. As we've sat here and we've gone, look, it's 2 matches. And it was a friendly. I mean, ish, folks. You had Andres Guardado pulled after 18 minutes because it was a celebration of his last match. And like I said, Tim Ream had a bad night. But where do you go from here? Yep, second match in a weird lineup. Morning, Derek, by the way. Second match in a weird lineup. That's what you had. It was a moment where you could have and should have gotten some kind of a result. But in a moment of pinpoint brilliance by Raul and Tim Ream being dispossessed, creating an opportunity inside the 18 to start, 2 goals on the board. And Mexico gets the win. But yes, like I said, Bart will be with us on Friday morning batting leadoff, and the whole thing will be like, all right, so how much doom and gloom? I feel like a Stones song all of a sudden, but how much of sky is falling will Bart be seeing between now and then? And it was a lost opportunity, I think, for a lot of folks. So we'll see what is on the mind of a lot of folks as we get ready for Nations League coming forward for what is up in November. What is up in November? And so that's what you're staring at. Yikes. And no, I have not seen anything, Ropes, from the Reynas or Casey Keller. But yes, the red-haired individual at Big FOX was more than happy and has been all morning long to sit there and open the floodgates for anybody that wants to ask a question. So mentioning the whole thing about the competitors for the possibility. Next batch of media rights regarding the World Cup is the 27 women's tournament in Brazil. Starting early in 25, is when FIFA will start fielding the bids. John Orond of Puck says it's going to be heightened interest. Principal candidates, according to Orond, NBC, and ESPN. CBS could throw their name in the ring too, but there is current uncertainty at CBS because of Skydance's acquisition of Paramount. So keep an eye on ESPN and NBC for the 27 Women's World Cup and everything that is moving forward when it comes to that and what the numbers are going to look like. What the numbers are going to look like. That is the big question involving anything involving media rights. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. All of that stuff. And this comes from our friends at Soccer America for what to watch. And traditionally, the BBC is a good aggregator when it comes to all of the gossip that is in and around the planet. Now that you have, we mentioned Ruben Amorim as a whenever it happens involving Pep Guardiola. Alphonso Davies is a key target for Manchester United next summer, according to Florian Plettenberg in Sky Germany. Open to selling Antony for £40 million or could let him leave on loan in January. Also, 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Barcelona could target midfielder Romeo Lavia and Carney Chukwuemeka, both from Chelsea, in January. Alexander Isak has put clubs including Arsenal on alert as he continues to stall signing a new contract at Newcastle. Sorry, Alex. Senegalese midfielder Cheikhou Kouyaté had a medical at Leeds on Tuesday as a free following his departure from Nottingham Forest. PSG remain interested in signing Marcus Rashford for Manchester United after their summer approach was knocked back. Chelsea are not prepared to entertain offers yet for Christopher Nkunku amid links to PSG. Spurs and Crystal Palace both interested in Lille and Iceland winger Håkon Arnar Haraldsson. God bless you. The release clause for Espanyol's keeper Joan Garcia, who was wanted by Arsenal in the summer, has been cut to €25 million. Manchester City are likely to demand a world record transfer fee for Erling Haaland to join either Real Madrid or Barcelona. City have joined Chelsea, Arsenal, and Spurs in keeping tabs on Shakhtar Donetsk midfielder Georgi Sudakov. Manchester City will bring 18-year-old Argentine midfielder Claudio Echeverri back in January, letting him stay at River Plate on loan after signing him back in January. And Bukayo Saka hopes to be fit for the Premier League match at Bournemouth on Saturday after withdrawing from England duty with a hamstring injury. So keep an eye on all of that. And once again, set your fantasy teams appropriately. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And there's plenty of that. Give you an idea about Sky is Falling headlines. Soccer America, in the race to the World Cup, being World Cup ready, Mexico is ahead of the United States. That's what you're staring at when it comes to headlines this morning in some places. We'll get into the college game here in a bit. U17 World Cup, FS2, Spain and the U.S. at 4. Dominican Republic, Ecuador at 7. ESPN Deportes, W Champions Cup, San Diego and Club America at 10. Universal simulcasting the U17 Women's World Cup at 4 with Spain and the United States. DAZN in the U.S., Women's Champions League 2 at 12:45. Juve, Bayern, St. Pölten, and Manchester City. 2 at 3. Barcelona, Hammarby, and Arsenal and Vålerenga. ESPN Plus also simulcasting the W Champions Cup, San Diego, and Club America at 10. Fox Soccer Plus, the FIFA U17 Women's World Cup, New Zealand, Nigeria at 4. Korea, Republic, Colombia at 7. CONCACAF Champions Cup on Paramount Plus, in addition to San Diego and Club America at 10. Preceded by Gotham and Tigres at 8. Peacock has the USL Super League with DC and Dallas at 7:30. And you get to hear a lot of familiar names with our friends over at Peacock. Jessica Charman on the call for some of those, Marion Crowder, and her show with Anna Whitty. Keep an ear out for those as well. College game. And if you missed the discussion that we had about replay and the college game, I would go back and listen to the end of Monday's show. Literally, it's the last half hour, because we ended up discussing a couple of situations that happened, one involving Jason specifically and another one in the Sun Belt back from the 29th of September, where you got to look at, you've got to look at review and how it's implemented and how re-refereeing is also occurring on the field for activity in college soccer. So go back if you missed it. Go back to the last half hour of the show on Monday and listen to our solutions, our discussing the issue and our solutions that that we were thinking about when it comes to implementation of a review system in college. So there you go. But college game, you have 3, 6, 9 matches going on the men's side, and it starts at 4:30 with some Division II, and then you have some Big West and some Conference USA. You've got some ACC extra in there, and once again, Big West. You got ACC extra, Evansville, Louisville, Howard, and Duke at 7 o'clock. You've got 9 o'clock out west and 3 matches, 10 o'clock out west. All of those are on ESPN+. Today, on the women's side, you've got a couple of afternoon games with teams in the Metro Atlantic Athletic and some schools up in the Northeast. You have Winthrop is going after South Carolina Upstate at 6. Lafayette and Army, Lehigh Colgate, UNC Asheville Gardner Webb. Keep an eye on that one because of everything that has been going on with our friends in Western North Carolina. It's a chance for UNC Asheville to get back out on the pitch and take on Gardner Webb at 6 o'clock. So 2 schools that we've been kind of keeping an eye on get to play each other on the women's side at 6 o'clock on ESPN+. Iona Rider, BU Holy Cross, Loyola Maryland, Longwood and Radford, American Navy, and Presbyterian and High Point at 7 o'clock tonight. So all of those are on ESPN+. And so keep an eye on the women's game and do your best and keep an eye on everything going on there. So very, very busy day once again. Let me get you ready for the rest of the week. Once again, thanks to Tyler for dropping by. I know that crazy travel schedules. Dylan's got like 5 games in 4 days. And so he's prepping for that. He had coaches conference calls this morning. And Marion Crowder is pretty much the same with USL Super League in the SEC. She's getting caught with travel schedules and coaching as well. So we'll catch up with Marion and see when Marion can come and hang out and let us know what's going on with her show with Anna Whitty and talk USL Super League now that the spring schedule's been released and with what's going on in the SEC. Tomorrow, wide open hour number 1, power hour, and hour number 2 with Nino and Nico. And then on Friday, Bart gets to, after a couple of days of hearing everybody ranting, raving, yelling, and screaming, he gets to come in and bat leadoff for 25 minutes on Friday. Hopefully our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can join us at 9:30. And then hour number 2 is Weekend Whip Around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. And you can catch up on everything going on as we get you ready for Decision Day in Major League Soccer. So it's been a fun morning. It's always been it's an informative morning, as it always is, and we will catch up with all of you folks down the line. So morning, Harry. Glad you could finally hang out with us, or at least to say hi that you're joining us. So we'll be back at it again in a little less than 22, and we will let you know what's going on in and around everything going on. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Play it safe, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy your meals. Get your coffee, and dress a little warmly because it was cold waking up this morning. So let me check. Yeah, Rowdy Man is buried in his bed, as he should be. And so electric blankets for all of us. Yes, hot tea is always a good thing, too. So that's all we know for this go-around here on SDH. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this with a fancy close. And so we'll be back at it again in a little less than 22. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning here on the morning show on the SDH Network.